Good morning, team. Today is April 4th, 420. Looking at the overall market. Today, we're looking at the market on the 1 year, 1 day chart. Reason being, the MACD has basically been crossed down before, and it seems like we're bouncing off divergence. So same principle, bigger charts. So as we can see, MACD is bouncing off divergence, looking like it may want to cross over. Remember, divergence can act as support. It could act as resistance if the stock is below it. So right now we are basically bouncing off divergence, looking like the MACD wants to cross over. Key areas we want to watch for, the reason it looks like so many lines is because we're on the 1 year. But main area you want to watch for long term, or even today, you never know how this market's going to move, is that 449 area. 449 is that 1 year SMA, and it can act as resistance. As you can see in the past, it acted as resistance, and it can act as support. So watch to see if it acts as resistance since we're below it, and we basically could reject that zone right here, that 449. Or we could break above it and start pushing up and start going higher, maybe even towards like 460. So that's a key level to watch overall on the bigger picture. Let's drop down towards the 20-day so you guys can see intraday what moves to watch for. Right now, the RSI on the 20-day is overbought over here. You can see it's peaking out around 70, which means the stock is more in favor for a pullback, right? So you can see it also looks like a double top over here at 445.60. It has basically hit 445, came down, and we're hitting again. Main goal for the SPY today is to break this 445, 446 zone, preferably before we could start pushing up towards 447, 448. If not, and we basically start to get bearish, MACD is crossed down already on the 20-day. So if this starts to open up to the downside and we break that trade line, watch for a drop from 444 down towards these 442, which so happens to be the 20-day SMA. Jumping over towards the 180-day chart, the MACD is crossed up. It has crossed up for quite a while, right? Typically, when you want those longer moves, you want to look at that 180-day MACD. So looking at the MACD, it crossed over since the 18th. It just now started to open up, giving us more upside momentum. It crushed through that SMA and the trade line yesterday, and it's still basically the candles are still basically trading above the trade line. So as long as that happens, even if we pull back and we hold above that 442 zone, right? I'm gonna change the color to this to blue since that's also the trade line. It's also not only the trade line, it's also the SMA. So that's a key zone right here, that 442. If we start to break 442, we could start seeing 440 and maybe even retesting that lower level, sorry, that lower level of 443. So definitely want to keep those areas in watch, especially since Powell is supposed to be talking about inflation again tomorrow. Next stock we want to talk about is Tesla. So looking at Tesla, let's drop down towards the 20-day. Tesla actually has an SMA right here acting as resistance at 1034. We need to get above 1034, 1035 to be safe before we could start basically pushing up towards that 1047. 1047 was a previous support level before. So watch out for that on Tesla. On the downside, watch for the break of 1022. Then we could start going to 1010, maybe even lower from there. Tesla does have earnings tomorrow, so you definitely want to be cautious as you're trading Tesla. Volume may be lower until tomorrow. And also make sure you guys are aware that it has earnings tomorrow. If you guys want to swing it or anything like that, make sure you're just aware that, hey, the stock could basically go up or go down for earnings, right? If we look at Tesla's past, if we look at every earnings, it normally just pulls back, even if it basically beats earnings. So let's see what happens. It pulls back and then it ends up rocketing later on. So that's typically Tesla's MO. It doesn't have to follow that trend. Just be cautious as you're looking at Tesla. 180-day is crossed up. RSI has room to run. So we could start opening it up and start going towards 1050, maybe even 1073. If we look at the 1 year on Tesla, 1 year is crossed out, trying to break above the trade line, just like SPY. So let's see what happens overall with Tesla. Now let's talk about Netflix now. I think like 2 days ago, I talked about Netflix. I said, keep it on watch because it has earnings. And look at that, boom. I said, what in this company is going to convince people to buy it and make it go higher, right? If you look at the 180-day chart, right, you can see it went from 700 to the low of 333. That was the level we were watching for a possible short because 333 was tested so many times. But it went from 700 to 333. And now it missed earnings. It lost over who knows how many subscribers, but they lost tons of subscribers. And the stock is basically pulled down to 251.62. Automatically, as a bear, you're like, hey, I want to short this. But looking at the RSI, it is a little bit more on the oversold side. We may get a little bit of a bounce before it even goes back down. So let's see what happens. Watch for this basically break of that 264. Then we could start basically going to 272 or 275. Let me just pull this down a little bit lower. And if we break this 251, I actually have to go towards the 5-year chart. I had to go to the 5-year chart to actually see where would the next level be. So right now, these larger charts, they don't update until basically market hours, but that 260 area that is sitting at is right here. The next level could be 250. And then we could basically start going down towards 230. We're going towards 5-year lows, sadly. So MACD does look like it wants to cross down on the 5-year as well, too. If you guys see this pattern that it's having, it looks like a lowercase h, which is a bearish pattern as well. Looking over here as well on the 1-year, you can see the same thing. Hasn't really uploaded, so we got to see what's going to happen. But I do think it's going to have a slight bounce before it comes back down even lower. So make sure you set your alerts above and below and play the volatility. This is going to be very volatile lately because of this action it just had. Now, today is 420. So you guys know how Wall Street Bet works. Make sure you guys are watching stocks like Tilray today. It was on the trending this morning. So let's see what happens with this one. Set your alert. It is basically stagnant. It went from $9 to $5, and it's pretty basically stagnant right now. So watch for the break above $5.95 before it could start going to $6, and watch for the break of the support of $5.50 before it goes any lower. That's pretty much it. Johnson & Johnson reports earnings this morning. It actually had a nice beat, went from 171 to 185, where it's peaked out right now, very overbought. It may have some type of pullback. It's weird how that works, right? Sometimes stocks beat, they end up having a pullback and end up rallying later. So that's just the way things are. So just watch out over here at that 185. If it does break it, we can start going to 190. If we start coming back lower, watch for 180 towards 179. So that's going to be it. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Give it a like. I'll see you guys in the chat room later.